So we're going to talk over these next 5 sections about how do you drive that succession planning? How do you cause advisors around you that are social influence to suggest that clients should work with you? How do you get those introductions, those referrals? And also, once those referrals come to you or you meet a client directly, exactly what conversation can you have to have the client go from, yeah, I know all that, to, I'm sorry, say that again. So the first one we're going to have is the anatomy of choice. Give you a little bit of background. Shelley Lightfoot, you see with me, is a financial advisor in her own right. She worked for a small broker dealer, then Prudential, then Bank of America, became an OSJ, was transferred to the San Diego area to run the compliance side for Bank of America on securities. Then we stole her to the dark side, where she uses all that combined knowledge now to help advisors grow their practices within the entities you see here. In our Care to Know platform, you should always realize what is the bias that your presenters have. So for Shelley and myself, Southern California Institute is a thought leader community. We provide over 200 educational programs a year, as short as an hour, as long as 5 days, as short as an hour, as long as 5 days, on legal, financial, and tax technical, and also counseling. The bottom one is Founders Group. That's your value acceleration firm, like you'd learn about at EPI. Founders Group is doing that, been doing that for over 20 years, like Southern California Institute. Founders Group helps business owners with the decision: do I keep and grow my business, or do I transition it to my family, to my employees who are like my family, or a third party, in whole or in part, now or in the future? So we prep businesses for transition. And then Strazzeri Mancini, the firm that started it all 25 plus years ago, my partner, Steve Mancini, and myself, we help successful families and business owners, A, get to the heart of highly relevant matters, B, resolve messes. So A, highly relevant matters, getting to the heart of it, and B, resolving messes in 3 areas: integrated tax and estate planning, business succession from the legal side, and family governance counseling or family business conflict. So,
all right. So this is a 5-part series, like we mentioned. The title of the whole series is The Multiple Conversations That Drive Business Succession Planning. So what are the things that owners start with us on, and how do we continue that into a business succession conversation? First part is what we call the anatomy of choice. This is a pre-engagement conversation, Joe. Oops.
Yeah, can you go back 1 or 2 slides, Shell? I'm sorry.
Here.
Over this 5-part, yeah, we will talk about this pre-engagement conversation. How do you get a business owner or advisor to send you one from what are you talking about, or I know everything you're going to say, or I realize what my valuation is, my buddy will buy me? How do you get them from that to I need your help? Then the second conversation will be the math. What is driving the business owner on why they don't sell often? We'll talk about the math, why they don't, and how you solve for it. Then we'll talk inside of that math. There's some advanced tax strategies that make more sense. We'll talk about how to have that conversation. The traditional value acceleration that EPI talks about, how you can work with a company like Founders Group to do that grunt work for you, whether you're the quarterback or not. And then family business conflict. If you help a family that's out of alignment find their way to like each other again, especially in a business, you get to do everything you'd like to with them. So that first slide then again, Shell, I'm sorry.
Okay. This is the Founders Group process overview.
And if you were to think of it like the 3 gates that belong to EPI, you'd see review and enhancement issues themselves, and the decision. We add something up front called the anatomy of choice. What do you do to cause a client to say yes to what EPI might call a triggering event? What predisposes them to yes for that? What gets you that client? What causes yes?
So that's the part we're talking about for this presentation. Also, part of that is the value acceleration and transition prep. These are the goals that drive those business owner conversations. All business owners have these 5 goals. And the things in the white are the things that help achieve those goals.
So inside there, if you go back, the white parts at the top tell you the goals that we're talking about. What's underneath them that are written in white are the things that would help. Some of those are your lane, some of those are not. The things in the bottom right are the things that Founders Group does not do. Though I own a law firm that does legal services, Founders Group doesn't do those things in the right-hand side with the black lettering. These are the 5 things, transition goals, that we believe clients have that you can speak in their language. So we are talking about the pre-engagement before discovery. So if this is the value acceleration model or methodology, we're talking about what happens before to get the client. Next, please.
So what is the purpose of the anatomy of choice, right? This is what we think of as the discovery stage. The idea here is to really get behind that conversation that most other advisors are having with business owners, right, Joe?
Yes. So there is something about the conversation that an entrepreneur has with multiple advisors. Why are they not moving forward with those advisors, and what would help them convert? It gives the advisor a documented priority sneak preview of a client's pain and aspirations. So just think for a moment, if I could have a process where I could have a conversation over 5 things, and in that 15, 20-minute conversation with a client, drive them to an online tool that could take them 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, where during that they do that tool, it has them move from yeah to, oh my God, look what I don't know. I need Shelley's help. I need Sam's help. And then the results get sent to them to frame a conversation, and the results get sent to you of what's in their soul and what their spouse would say that's really driving them. That's the purpose of the anatomy of choice, to where when they talk with you again we're finding those 5 points we'll talk about, 5 limitations to progress, and so that 3rd stage, they move to, yes, I need to hire you. So these 5 things that we talked about, we surveyed hundreds of our own clients that had $20+ million sales, some in the $250 million range, some in the 20 to 80 million or 20 to $100 million range. And over 300 of them to say, okay, what are the questions that drove you if you thought about selling but never followed through, thought about selling, started it and canceled out, thought about selling and then got to the very end and said, nope, thought about selling, did, and they're happy, thought about selling, did, and are unhappy. What are the things that were first driving you? And these 5 limitations to progress are what the summary of all that were. And then we got it to a bunch of our students to test. So we have conversations around each of these. I'm sorry, Shel.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry. I was going to just say, for me, when we're talking about the 5 limitations to progress, I think it's a very different conversation than most owners are having with their advisors, because it's really about helping them find clarity about their situation. And I love the word clarity here, because this is meant to highlight the things that they need more information about to be able to make a good decision. This isn't necessarily all the tangible stuff in the business. You get into that stuff later. This is about what's going to help them drive the best decision for them. And they need more clarity around these issues in order to be able to do that. So that's really what these 5 limitations to progress is about.
The book, The Anatomy of Choice, that we often send to that client ahead of time, gives them a short version of this, where it just explains it a little bit more, but heavy on pictures, that book pictures on the right. So next.
So we use this diagram, right?
And this is no more, no less than a talking conversation. We have pads of them where you can write on it, really toothy paper, to show a client that you do this all the time. So those that go to our CFGA program, and we use this kind of a thing. Do you have a talking guide that you can actually write on, that if the client read your notes, they'd be proud of? We'd actually take notes right on this as they answered each of the questions. The center is basically, yeah. You have talked about EBITDA, and you've talked about cutting costs and raising revenue and all the rest. But have you talked about the things that are really important to you? And then these limitations to progress, you would just ask them the questions about each one of these in order, take some notes, and at the end of it, drive them simply to, If you'd like more clarity on this, take this survey. Again, it's 5 or 10 minutes online, and it gets them very quickly. And we've got about 20 minutes to cover all these. So we're going to move forward too. I'm sorry, Shelley.
I was just going to say, a reminder that we're in our very first conversation with the client, right? We've had the introduction, and this is the initial conversation, and it's only intended to be 30 minutes to an hour with one primary goal, Joe, and that is what?
To drive them to this digital survey. So I'm going to go through pretty quickly on the next couple of slides to be able to show that this survey, I'm sorry, back up one, Shelley, I apologize.
I'm sorry.
No problem, my fault. Oops. When they go to that survey, there's going to be a text code we'll show you in a minute, and they'll get to this sheet when they get there. So the next one, Shell, they're going to text to a number like that, a code, like for you, if you'd like to do it during this short time, EPI-5. When you text that, it's going to ask for your name and your email address. You can hit enter between the two or just a space. Then it sends you a link. It got your email address because it's going to send you a report later. That link then, as they click on it, will give them a way to go through a bunch of questions. When they do, there'll be the 5 areas of questions. There's over 100 questions matched up in pairs of two of each of 5 to choose left or right. The clients can say, I don't like either answer. I had to choose one or the other. Yes, we're causing controversy in their mind.
It's that
We're
dichotomy.
causing, they're thinking, like Shelley was saying, with that dichotomy, at the end of it, they're, oh my God, I'm not as clear as I thought. So first it gets them an overall score. The next section in their report that they get by email, if you would, Shell, gives them a score in each of the 5 areas. So this person would say, I need to hit the bottom 2 really hard and maybe the middle one. How do I ask those questions? Now they're going to have a guide. You're going to be able to tell them, take this survey so you can take control over the conversation. So it's not about what providers can do for you, but what you're looking for. And it gives them a list of those things that they answered in a way that we thought they should talk to their advisor. So what if they check the wrong box on 2 or 3, they can cross them out. But now they have a list, and you do, about things more than EBITDA, rates of return, et cetera, but things that drive them in their 5 areas or 5 limitations of progress. So with that,
and you can see these things. Well, I was going to say, you can see these things are more about clarity about what's going on in their own gut. Like, I'm worried about seller's remorse. I care more about being done than pleasing everyone. Those are the things that they need to have more conversation around. And that's our goal here, is to provide a list of things to talk about.
So from that
conversation.
Yeah, this follow-up conversation where you say, okay, let's get more clarity about these 5 areas that we talked about, 5 limitations of progress. You'll get more clarity on them. And from that, simply get them to, yes, I need help. Next slide, Shel. Through the conversation tool like we just had, this one just is more clarity about each piece to drive them to what you will call a triggering event. Shelley? So we just covered the anatomy of choice. We put that up front and we lend it to some of our friends who are advisors that we work with in order to have a way to attract and engage clients. Now you can do this one-on-one with a client, or you can do this in a presentation where there are 300 in front of you and you talk about the 5 limitations, you drive them all a survey, give them 10 minutes in the audience to take it, and then you talk about the other pieces to refine their clarity. If you combine this with 13 questions about their business, gosh, you can really drive them to an engagement.
Absolutely.
So and I was so concerned, Shelley, about timing, but we got through pretty quickly.
We did pretty good. We did pretty good. So hope you'll join us then for the second conversation around the math that actually drives a lot of business succession conversations.
Sure. Thank you so much.